Contractions combine two words into a short form with an apostrophe. For example, I am becomes I'm, could not becomes couldn't, and many more that you'll learn in this lesson. Contractions are extremely common in spoken English and informal written English, and today you're going to learn 50 of them. Yes, we do have that many contractions in English. Make sure to download the free PDF guide to this lesson by clicking on the link in the video description so that you can review and remember all of the contractions we'll learn today. And I'll also show you example sentences with each one, again, when you download the free lesson guide. We'll start with contractions with not. Are not becomes aren't. Cannot becomes can't. Note that cannot is the only one of these that's a single word without a space between can and not. Could not becomes couldn't. Did not, didn't. Do not, don't. Does not, doesn't. Had not, hadn't. Has not, hasn't. Have not, haven't. Is not, isn't. Must not, mustn't, although that one's not so common in American English. Should not, shouldn't. Was not, wasn't. Were not, weren't. Will not, won't, and would not, wouldn't. Let me show you just a couple example sentences because I want you to notice something about the pronunciation. I didn't go to the gym today. We haven't finished the project yet. You shouldn't drive so fast. He wasn't at the party. One thing you might notice is that the final T almost disappears. I don't say he wasn't at the party. It sounds more like he wasn't at the party. This is just something that happens when speaking naturally, and I want you to be aware of it when you're listening to native English speakers talking fast. Contractions with not are often used in tag questions. For example, you're tired, aren't you? That was fun, wasn't it? He lives there, doesn't he? Next, we have contractions with be, am, is, and are. I am becomes I'm. He is, he's. She is, she's. It is, it's. John is, John's. You are, your. We are, we're. They are, their. And some examples. I'm hungry. It's raining. She's good at math. We're learning contractions. They're from Brazil. Note that we're, meaning we are, often sounds like were when we're speaking fast. Our next category is contractions with have, has, and had. So I have becomes I've. You have, you've. We have, we've. They have, they've. Should have, should've. Could have, could've. And would have, would've. Note that these are spelled should apostrophe VE and not should of. Some people make that mistake when writing. With has, he has, he's. She has, she's. It has, its. I had, I'd. You had, you'd. He had, he'd. She had, she'd. We had, we'd. They had, they'd. So we use have and has in the present perfect tense, as in these examples. I've finished the book. You've been working hard. She's already eaten dinner. He's been sick all week. We're going to be late. We should have left earlier. We do not form the contraction if have, has, or had is the main verb of the sentence, meaning possession. So we don't say, I've a dog. We say, I have a dog. We only use the contraction when have, has, or had is acting as a helping verb. Here's another example. He has an old car. There, has is the main verb, so we do not make it into the short form. But when it's a helping verb, we can. He's been driving that car for 20 years, meaning he has been driving. Another example, main verb. We had a good time last night. Helping verb. We helped him because we'd promised to do so. We had promised. Main verb. The pharmacy should have that medicine. Helping verb. You should have apologized for being rude. That should have apologized. The main verb is apologized, and have is just helping it. You might notice that she's could be she is or she has. How can you know which one? We look at the whole sentence. If it's followed by an ing verb or by an adjective or noun, that means she is. She's preparing a lesson means she is preparing. She's a teacher means she is a teacher. She's busy means she is busy. But if it's followed by a past participle, that means she has. So she's told everyone the news means she has told. She's been planning her vacation means she has been planning her vacation. We use contractions with had in the past perfect tense, as in these examples. By the time I arrived, he'd already left. We'd been thinking about selling our house, but we changed our minds. They said they'd gotten a dog. When it comes to contractions with will, a lot of these sound a bit different when spoken fast, as you'll see in the example sentences. So, I will becomes I'll, but it often sounds like I'll. You will becomes you'll. He will becomes he'll, but it often sounds like he'll. She will becomes she'll, but it often sounds like she'll. It will becomes it'll. We will becomes we'll, but it often sounds like will. And they will becomes they'll. Let's look at and listen to the examples. I'll get back to you later. Again, I'll sounds like I'll. I'll get back to you later. I think he'll like the gift. He will sounds like he'll. He'll like the gift. We'll be traveling next week. Again, we will, we'll be traveling next week. Talk to Jane. She'll help you set up your account. She will, she'll help. Contractions with would include I would, I'd, you would, you'd, he would, he'd, she would, she'd, we would, we'd, and they would, they'd. For example, I'd like to see the dessert menu, please. If he ate healthier food, he'd feel better. When we were kids, we'd go to the beach every summer. Again, we have a problem. They'd can mean they had or they would. How can you know which one? By looking at what comes after it. They'd plus a past participle means they had, and they'd plus the base form means they would. I wanted to see them, but they'd already left. They had already left. They told the host they'd leave early. They would leave. He was disappointed because he'd gotten a bad grade on the test, meaning he had gotten. If he studied more, he'd get better grades, meaning he would get. Now we've been focusing on contractions with subjects that are people, I, you, he, she, etc., but we also have some common contractions with other words. So let's finish this lesson by looking at some of those. Here is and there is become here's and there's. For example, here's the book you asked for. There's no more milk in the fridge. Now, we do not make contractions in writing with here are and there are, even though they might sound shorter when speaking. Here are the magazines you asked for. There are no more eggs in the fridge. But when writing them, always here are and there are. That is becomes that's, and that would becomes that'd, but it sounds more like that when we're speaking fast. You got promoted? That's great. If you can pick up some groceries on your way home from work, that'd be helpful. This will and that will become this'll and that'll. This'll be the first time my son travels by himself. She wants to make all the decorations by hand, but I think that'll take too long. We also see a lot of contractions with question words. So, what is or what has becomes what's. What's your name? What's he been doing lately? Where is becomes where's. Where's the nearest gas station? Where did becomes where'd. Where'd you go last night? When is becomes when's. When's your birthday? When's a good time for a meeting? Who is or who has becomes whose. Who's the best student in the class? How is or how has becomes how's. How's your family? How's everything been at work? How did or how would become how'd. How'd you finish your homework so fast? How'd you like to go out for dinner? Why is and why has become why's. Why's the TV on if nobody's watching? And why did becomes why'd. Why do you leave work early? An important note about when to use and when not to use contractions. When we're speaking English, we use contractions very often. Pretty much anytime there's an opportunity to use one, we use it. Otherwise, your speaking would sound kind of strange and robotic. Plus, it takes longer. Compare these. I would love to help tomorrow, but there is a good reason I cannot. My car is not working, so I will be taking it to the mechanic. That's without any contractions. But more naturally, we'd say it like this. I'd love to help tomorrow, but there's a good reason I can't. My car's not working, so I'll be taking it to the mechanic. We avoid contractions in formal writing. So that would be business reports and letters, contracts, academic essays, and research papers. We can use contractions in informal writing, casual emails, blog posts, social media posts and comments, text messages, etc. What about emails at work? Are those considered formal or informal? Well, it depends. Contractions are fine in emails to people who you communicate regularly with, like your coworkers, supervisors or employees, clients with whom you already have a relationship, etc. But you should avoid contractions if it's the very first time you're contacting someone, like you're emailing a cover letter inquiring about a job you want, or reaching out to a brand new client or someone at another company when you're just beginning the business relationship with them. In those situations, we tend to write a little more formally, and then the communication style becomes more casual over time as more messages get exchanged. Now you know all about contractions in English, and you've seen lots of examples. Make sure to download the free lesson PDF by clicking on the link in the video description. And to learn more English grammar, get my basic and intermediate English grammar ebooks and join my advanced English grammar course, all available at my website, espressoenglish.net.